Heartless employee kicks out poor cleaner. What happened next will shock you. 3 a.m. revelations. It was just past 3 a.m., a time when shadows danced and even the bravest souls shivered in the night. The old office building at the end of Maple Street moaned and creaked like a haunted relic, its flickering fluorescent lights casting eerie shapes against the cracked walls. Inside, Carla the cleaner was just finishing up her shift. She was the last one there, a solitary figure amidst the vacuity, her heartbeat echoing in the silence. But this night something felt off. As she pushed her mop across the floor, the quiet was interrupted by the sudden slamming of a door. Marcus, the high and mighty manager, barged in, a storm cloud brewing in his eyes. The tension twisted in the air. Carla could feel it wrapping around her like a noose. "You're done! Get out of here!" he barked, his voice slicing through the stillness like a knife. The anger radiating from him felt palpable, stinging her skin. She staggered back. "This is no place for you. You don't belong here," he spat, his words dripping with disdain. The onlookers, a group of late-night workers still lingering in the hallway, exchanged shocked glances. Whispers weaved through the air, they too sensed the darkness tightening its grip. "Can you believe that?" one of them muttered, face contorted in disbelief. Another, a young intern, clutched her chest, eyes wide, her heart racing at the sight of the unraveling confrontation. But then, there was a sound, a low rumble. It started as a whisper, growing louder, vibrating the very foundation of the building. The lights dimmed dangerously, flickering on and off like a strobe. An uneasy chill cascaded over the room. Carla felt her palms go clammy, her throat tightening. Whatever was happening felt like the universe was preparing to reveal something shocking, something hidden beneath layers of cruelty. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as the dread hung thick in the air, a sharp scream shattered the silence. The building shook violently, as if it were alive, shuddering at the indignant injustice. Carla's heart pounded ferociously in her chest. She threw a glance toward Marcus, who looked frozen in place, eyes wide, mouth agape, as if he had crossed into another realm. In that moment, the ground beneath them trembled, and for a split second, everyone felt the heavy weight of destiny pressing down on their shoulders. What did they just awaken? What lay beneath the layers of resentment and silence? The answers hovered just out of reach, a whisper in the dark, begging to be found. The screen dissolved into a haunting echo, swirling around the stunned crowd as if it was searching for someone to latch onto. Carla blinked rapidly, trying to shake off the growing sense of dread welling inside her. The overhead lights flickered like fireflies caught in a bottle, and shadows swung wildly, creating figures that danced close to the edge of her panic. "Get out!" Marcus finally screamed, though he seemed rooted in fear himself. The crowd surged backward, a mass of uncertainty trailing through the doorway. Carla's heart raced. She wanted to run, to flee this place of inexplicable terror, but her feet felt glued to the floor, anchoring her in the chaos that had exploded around her. Just then, the air thickened, turning electric. Carla could almost taste it, raw and charged. She caught a glimpse of something moving in the shadows along the far wall. Long, thin fingers reached out from the darkness, curling and uncurling, beckoning her closer. An unexplainable urge tugged at her, whispering secrets of power and fear. "Do you see that?" The intern gasped, pointing toward the shrouded corner, her voice quivering. Slowly, everyone turned, their breath hitched in their throats. The room fell silent again, glassy-eyed occupants transfixed by the grotesque silhouette retreating further into the darkness. The weight of unspoken fears settled on each of them like a dense fog. "It's just shadows," Marcus said, his bravado faltering. He stepped back, bumping into a filing cabinet and stumbling slightly. "Just shadows," he repeated, though he sounded more uncertain with each syllable. But Carla could feel it. The energy in the room buzzed, spiraling out of control as if something unseen was drawing power from their collective fear. She remembered the stories her grandmother told, tales of spirits who gathered in places of despair. Was this what they had awakened? Was the spirit of injustice raging at what Marcus had just done to her? Suddenly, the walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting like a living beast. The ground trembled once more, this time more violently. "What is happening?" someone shouted, voice cracking. Carla couldn't look away from where the darkness pulsed. It felt alive, crashing against her thoughts, stirring a fire in her chest. She stepped forward, against all instincts urging her to flee. "Maybe it's a warning, maybe it wants us to hear it." "Are you crazy?" Marcus snapped, his anxiety boiling over. "You can't just stand there. You'll..." But before he could finish, the room exploded with another scream, one that seemed to launch itself from the very bowels of the earth. The office trembled, and shards of plaster broke free from the ceiling, raining down like icy rocks. Then, one by one, the lights steadied. Silence flooded back into the room, but it wasn't the emptiness they had known before. It was a silence heavy with expectation, as if the building itself had paused, holding its breath along with them. Carla felt compelled to press on. "What are you hiding?" she called into the darkness, her voice steady and resolute. "Show yourself." And then it happened. A single flicker of light glowed softly in the corner, illuminating a figure too sinister to be real. Its face twisted in regret, eyes hollow with centuries of pain. The essence of betrayal and loss seeped into the air, pressing against their chests. "Who are you?" the intern whimpered, but the figure only shuddered closer, its hand reaching out as if to grasp them all. Carla's heart raced, and an ache spread through her chest. This wasn't just the spirit of the space. They were summoned here for a reason. What did it want? And would they survive this haunting encounter? "What do you want from us?" she shouted, her voice cutting through the tingling silence, reverberating like a challenge. In response, the room filled with a low, foreboding laughter, deep and rich, echoing through the walls. In that chilling moment, Carla realized they were not alone. Something truly dark had awaited for this night. As the figure loomed closer, Carla's thoughts raced. With only seconds to decide, she felt the intruding voice of fear again. Was she ready to confront the truth? And then, with a flash, everything went dark. The darkness swallowed them whole. A complete void pressed against Carla's skin, snatching away any solidity she had felt moments before. Time warped. Seconds turned into hours, and her mind railed against being trapped in this immensity where sound could no longer reach her ears. Then, a burst of blinding light. The sudden brilliance flared to life as though shaken from a held breath, illuminating not just the room, but the faces of her horrified companions. They all stood frozen, eyes wide, searching those haunting shadows. Suddenly, the outline of the twisted figure was back, no longer a mere silhouette but an entity thick with anger and sorrow, swirling with a darkness that whispered their fears back at them. "Why didn't you leave?" it croaked, voice a jagged hiss that sliced through the renewed silence. Everyone flinched, a collective gasp swelling in the air. Carla's bravado quivered under its penetrating gaze. We didn't know what to do," she managed, every syllable dragging through the weight of impending doom. "You awakened me," the figure rasped, stepping forward. The source of the chill that wrapped around them was now so close she could see the anguish carved on its features. "You stirred the embers of anguish and despair buried deep within these walls." Rattled, Marcus stumbled back, nearly losing his balance again. "We didn't. We weren't trying to." With that carelessness comes consequence, it seethed, the very air thickening with its venomous words. Carla felt it coil around her throat, choking the breath from her lungs. "What do you want?" cried the intern in a voice straining against fear. "Tell us. We can help." A silence, pregnant with malice, enveloped them. The entity's hollow eyes seemed to pierce through each of them, drinking in their fear like nectar, feeding on the panic blooming in the room. Around them, a dim glow flickered in and out like a heartbeat, flicker. "You are not the first to linger in this space," it declared, almost wistfully. They too sought answers, yet left behind only their shame. Electricity crackled in the atmosphere, vibrating against Carla's very bones. Staring intently at the figure, she felt the weight of her grandmother's stories tightening around her. The specters of the past suffering and betrayal were gathered here, trapped in the stories that echoed through time. What if we faced it together? Carla implored, her voice rising to cut through the tension. If we show respect for what happened here, can it end this suffering? There was no immediate response, only a shift in the figure, a flicker of recognition. For a heartbeat, the entity's approach seemed less menacing, almost curious. What respect have you known? It hissed, bitterness lacing every word. A deep silence fell, the kind that pressed against everyone's chest, suffocating. Carla steadied herself, fueled by a determination she didn't fully grasp. The stories, the hurt, the anger, it all matters. We matter. We'll listen. We'll bear witness. At her declaration, the figure hesitated, as if rattled by the fervor in her voice. Was it possible to reach an understanding, to unravel the knot that bound them all to this darkness? Another laugh, less rich, more brittle, echoed through the walls. Listen, this path leads to truths you do not desire. The shadows began to swirl around them violently, amplifying the dread in the room. The lights dimmed again, flickering like a heartbeat ready to fade away. What truth? Marcus shouted against the din, stepping forward despite the protest of those behind him. What do we need to hear? The figure paused. You want answers, but first, sacrifice must be made. Will you pay the price? As the room quaked in anticipation, Carla's mind spun. What price would they have to pay? And would any of them be willing to sacrifice what they held dear to untangle the evils lurking in this place? With the haunting laughter resounding in her ears, her heart raced. This was just the beginning, wasn't it? The answers were close yet oblivious, dangling at the edge of her grasp, and just as quickly as the darkness had fallen, it surged back around them, swallowing all but the echo of the unanswered question. Would they be ready to face whatever lay beneath the surface? As the shadows deepened further, Carla realized she was standing at a precipice, a moment of truth about to unravel before them. What sacrifice would it demand? The shadows churned, swirling like a storm around them, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. Carla felt the ground beneath her shift, the room warping as fear gripped each of her companions like iron shackles. Their faces twisted in uncertainty, mirroring the fear clawing away at her heart. Sacrifice, she whispered, testing the word on her lips, each syllable tasting bitter. What could they possibly part with that mattered enough to sate the wrath of this wretched entity? Marcus raised his voice against the deafening turmoil. What do we have to lose? Show us what you'll take. His bravado flashed like a wildfire, igniting a flicker of hope, albeit a frail one. Hope, the figure echoed, its voice a dark melody. So fleeting, so naive. You cling to it like a child clutching a toy in the dark. It floated closer, the air thick with an odor of decay that insinuated itself into their lungs. Carla held her breath, heart racing. What happens if we refuse? She demanded, forcing down her panic. She needed control, she needed a plan, even in the face of madness. The figure's face twisted in a grotesque semblance of amusement. To refuse is to remain shackled to your own fears, lost in the cycle of torment. There was a pause, a moment where time hung like a pendulum, and then it continued, its voice now low and creeping. But should you choose to sacrifice, you will unveil secrets long thought buried. You will face truths that could shatter your very beings. A tightness gripped Carla's chest. What kind of secrets? She asked, not that she wanted to know. But curiosity gnawed at her like a relentless beast. Secrets of betrayal and sorrow. Secrets of loves lost and lives forever altered, the entity hissed, its voice resonating through the corners of her mind. The darkness you seek to escape, it lives within each of you. The air grew heavier, charged with anticipation. Each of them stood still, searching their hearts for the price they might pay. Memories flickered in Carla's mind, her years at home, her grandmother's stories of family betrayals and heartbreak. What would she have to give up from her own life to uncover what lay hidden? It could be anyone, the intern murmured, eyes darting, panic clenching the air. It could be family. A friend. Something valuable. Stop. Carla's voice sliced through the panic. We can't just let it draw us in blindly. We need to be strategic. What is there to strategize? Marcus shot back, his voice rising. We either give something up or we're trapped here forever. Their frantic exchanges echoed in the vast empty space, pressuring Carla between the looming threat of the entity and the uncertainty of their fate. Hope and dread danced a disturbing tango, each pulling at her resolve. The figure tilted its head, observing their turmoil with an unsettling calm. See how swiftly your convictions waver? How fragile your bonds become under the truth of sacrifice. This weight reveals who you truly are. Another pulse of energy surged through the room, and the walls vibrated with whispers, distant murmurs of pain and loss, revealing glimpses into the past secrets the spirits had hidden. Will you choose today what you are willing to lose? It taunted, shadows coiling tighter with each heartbeat of silence that followed. Every heartbeat felt explosive, every breath filled with dread. Carla glanced at Marcus, his face a mask of conflict and fear. The group was splintering, doubts gnawing at their connection. What if? She began, knowing they were at a critical threshold. What if we give a piece of our fears instead of something significant? Would it satisfy you? The figure's eyes glowed with interest, a glint of intrigue weaving through the menace. Perhaps, but can you admit those fears and let them go? With heavy hearts, Carla and the others exchanged anxious glances. The weight of their insecurities pressed heavily around them. Could they lay bare their hidden fears, expose themselves to one another, horrified at the tenderness that lay beneath their hardened facades? As the shadows flickered and the air thickened, the walls of the room seemed to lean in closer. Each person felt the pull of whispering darkness, a voiceless siren call that beckoned them to reveal what they dared not even fully acknowledge within themselves. The question loomed, heavy with uncertainty. Would they find the courage to sacrifice their fears? And what horrors awaited if they did? Fingers trembled and breaths caught as they stood balanced on the edge of a revelation, one that would either free them or bind them even tighter into the darkness. What fears would they be willing to cast into the void? The air vibrated with a tension that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Carla's skin prickled, as if every shadow lurking in the corners was poised to lunge at her. She stood at the center of a storm, her heart thudding loudly against her ribs while uncertainty churned around her. Fear, Marcus breathed, his voice barely a whisper now. What if we show them our fears and they consume us? What if that's the price? His brow furrowed deeply, eyes wide with realization. Carla looked around at the faces of her friends. Each one reflected a unique spectrum of fear. The intern backed away, shaking his head, while another companion clenched her fists, straining to hold back tears. Only Marcus seemed ready to confront the darkness head-on, but even he was trembling. The entity breathed in the confusion. The darkness within you is the platform of your greatest fears. It is resonant, it can echo through the ages, destroy everything you are. Its voice danced through the air, curling into their minds like smoke. But you're not willing to let go, are you? What a delicious irony! The laughter, or what passed for laughter, chilled Carla to the bone. They were tearing apart right in front of her, unraveling at the seams. Her thoughts raced. What if she could turn this to their advantage? As seconds rolled like marbles across a tilted table, she hardened her spirit. I might not be able to make you understand, but I'll talk about my worst fear. Her voice rang clear, powerful, despite the despair pressing in. What? The intern hissed. Carla, don't, but she pressed on, her heart hammering in her chest. I fear failing the people I love, that I want to be enough for them, that I'll watch them suffer, and I'll be powerless. I've already lost, I can't lose more. The tears she held at bay spilled forth, streaking down her cheeks. Is that enough? She challenged, eyes locked onto the entity. For a fleeting moment, clarity broke through the murky shadows, the air hanging on her words. The ominous figure paused, tilting its head in subtle intrigue. Your fear runs deep, but fear alone is a poor exchange. You must release it willingly. Carla gulped, staring into the entity's unblinking gaze. Will you let us go if I admit it? If I lay it bare? The figure curled its elongated fingers, shadows thickening. Release it, and I will show you truths untold. Silence fell, a tension so grand it was a tangible curtain. Their friendships, their hopes all hung in the balance. She could feel invisible threads pulling on her heartstrings, twisting with doubt, pulling back like a coiled spring. Enough! Marcus shouted, breaking through the dark. We're stronger together! Don't let this thing twist us apart. He stepped forward, shaking but resolute. I fear being abandoned, cast aside like I didn't matter. I've fought all my life, but each loss weighs down like chains. The power of his words hung in the air as if they had become a part of the very shadows swirling around them. One by one, the others began to follow. The intern, his voice quivering, confessed his fear of never having a place to belong. Each revelation pulled them closer, binding their vulnerabilities into a fortress of shared experience. More! Give me more fears! The entity hissed, shadows pulsing in greedy delight. It craved the complexity of their emotions, feeding on the darkness they unearthed. Carla's heart raced faster now. This could either bring clarity or descend them into chaos. I'm terrified that love isn't enough to heal my wounds, she screamed, letting the rawness flood over her. The air crackled with a sudden charge, pushing and pulling at every emotional thread exposed. But could they truly confront every fear, embrace it, and still emerge whole? The figure reeled back slightly, intrigued. Delicious but still incomplete. Who among you is willing to offer even more? The laughter echoed, looming with malice. Just as the shadows thickened, wrapping tightly around them, a burning light snapped into existence, cutting through the darkness. They turned, instinctively seeking its source, heartbeats sinking in. A rush of uncertainty. Come! A voice called from the light, urgent and familiar. Was it salvation or another form of deception? As the shadows trembled and surged about them, they stood on the cusp of either revelation or ruin. What awaited them on the other side of the light? And was there a cost far greater than they had already paid? The light pulsed with a warm glow, cutting through the cold shadows that clung to them like damp cloth. Carla squinted, her heart racing. What if this was their chance to escape? But a razor-sharp fear also spiraled within her. What if the light brought them nothing but deeper darkness? Trust it, Marcus urged, his voice rising above the ominous whispers of the entity. We can't stay here. He took a step forward, pulling Carla along despite her hesitations. The others followed, their faces illuminated by a mix of fear and flickering hope. As they moved toward the light, the shadows clawed at their ankles, wailing in anguish. You cannot leave! The entity screeched, the voice now a snarl laced with desperation. You've yet to embrace your fears fully. No! Carla screamed, igniting a spark of defiance. We're more than our fears. We're not letting you win. She felt the power of her words buoy her as they surged towards the light. It embraced them, wrapping around every painful thought, illuminating the corners of their minds where darkness had lurked. Feel it. The familiar voice drowned out the entity's snarls, inviting them deeper into the warmth. This is not an easy path, but to find strength, you must face your darkest scars. Suddenly they stumbled, as if struck by a wave of psychic energy. Images smacked against their minds, snaps of memories they couldn't shake off. Carla was yanked back to the day her mother had wept in front of a cold hospital room, a night of helplessness washing over her. The intern with his family turning their backs just when he needed them most. Embrace them. The voice urged again. Embrace your pain to find the truth. But the shadows writhed and twisted, uncurling their limbs, trying to latch onto their fears once again. You think you can escape us? You think your bond is stronger than the darkness? Each pulse of energy brought more memories, more raw emotion. Every fear laid bare urged them to feel their weight. It was agonizing. Carla felt the tight grip of despair wrapping around her throat. Stop it! Marcus shouted, gritting his teeth. Don't give in! His eyes gleamed with a fierce determination. Together, we can overcome this. The intern shot forward, eyes wild. We were made for more than this pain. It's time to own our truth. The heavy shadows hissed, pouncing on their desperation. You're playing with flames, children. Let me show you what true darkness looks like. With each breath, Carla felt their fears fade like burnt-out embers. They bared their vulnerabilities, exchanging panic for power in this electrifying moment. I fear nothing, he proclaimed, his voice booming against the dark tendrils. Together we transcend this together, we're willing to fight. Feel the light. A voice pushed. Let it deepen your bond, it's what will save you. Carla's heart raced. The memories blended into a potent force. They fought against the shadows clamoring. I no longer fear my failures, she screamed, words bursting free like champagne. They shaped me. A wave of energy surged as they unified their voices, a collective heart beating against the chaos. The shadows let out a shriek. No! You don't understand. The light intensified, pushing back against them, but the entity wasn't done. To truly escape, you must see the darkest truth about yourselves. As the shadows retreated, revealing a shimmering portal, a dark form loomed over it, unrestrained and furious. Carla's breath quickened. What dark truth awaited beyond the threshold? Would they find freedom, or were they stepping closer into a more profound nightmare? Trust me, she whispered, reaching for Marcus' hand. But as their fingers intertwined, a blinding flash erupted from the portal, engulfing them. Shadows twisted violently, whispering secrets filled with dread. Could they hold on to the light as they stepped into the unknown, and what haunting revelations lay just beyond the veil? The blinding flash enveloped them, dissolving their surroundings into an endless expanse of swirling colors and sounds. Everything spun wildly, their senses grappling with the chaos, until finally, the cacophony settled into a chilling silence. Carla blinked, her heart pounding as she tried to adjust to the dim light seeping through the cracks around her, a light that felt familiar, yet dangerous. The others were there, their faces etched with uncertainty, eyes wide with fear. What just happened? Marcus whispered, stepping forward cautiously. They looked around, realizing they stood on a flat, barren surface. The once comforting embrace of the light was replaced with an oppressive gloom. Tall, jagged rocks surrounded them, stretching toward a murky sky. This feels wrong, Carla murmured, her throat dry. A cold chill knotted in her stomach as she scanned their surroundings. Where are we? I think Marcus hesitated as he looked toward the shadows lurking just beyond their reach. I think we're inside the entity. It's a part of it. Oh great, the intern grimaced, balling his fists. That's just perfect. How do we fight something that's inside our own heads? By confronting it, Carla replied. The words came out sharper than she anticipated. We need to find that truth it spoke about. It can't hold us here if we own it. As if summoned by her defiance, the ground quaked beneath their feet. A low growl emanated from the cracks, echoing like a heartbeat, longing to be felt. Foolish children! The shadows hissed menacingly, saturating the air with despair. You think you're ready to see? Let me show you what you truly fear. The darkness rippled and twisted until shapes formed, figures warped by sorrow. Carla recoiled as their eyes settled on her, her mother, broken and weeping, the intern's own reflection, hungry for approval yet shackled by shame. Their pain was palpable, electrifying the air with a torment that clawed at Carla's resolve. No! She shouted, feeling the weight of their agony. That's not who we are. Is it not? The shadows echoed in a chilling chorus, their voices amalgamating into a sinister melody. You carry these burdens like trophies. Each mistake, every moment of weakness, they define you. No! Cried Marcus, pushing forward, trembling. We are not these things. The dark figures contorted into a single monstrous form, monstrous and grotesque, feeding off their despair. Its countenance twisted into a faceless void, absorbing light, refusing to let go. Show me your strongest fears. Prove to me you can escape. Carla clutched Marcus' arm, desperation surging through her. Together, she rasped, we fight this. Remember your strength, yelled the intern, a determined fire igniting in his eyes. Past the pain, beyond the darkness, there's hope. Summoning all of her courage, Carla took a step forward. My mother, her voice faltered, but she pressed on. She was strong. She loved me through every flaw. I won't let darkness twist that memory. The shadows shrieked as the collective force of their will surged forth, pushing back against the looming terror. Orange light blossomed from within each of them, chasing away the murk, replacing it with vibrant echoes of their shared memories, the laughter, the triumphs, and their resolve to keep fighting. But the entity screamed, more furious than ever, and surged forward, looming larger than before. You think this is enough? I shall show you true solitude. As the shadows thickened, a realization struck Carla. The truth wasn't just about resigning to their past. It was survival, protecting one another from that past's grip. With renewed frustration, she shouted, "We choose each other. We stand united." And in that moment of solidarity, everything shattered like glass. The light exploded, colors melted together until only a blinding white remained. What lay beyond this illumination? Were they still inside the entity, or had they forged a path toward real freedom? As they braced themselves, a deafening roar echoed, shaking the ground beneath them, and the world around them began to fracture. Were they prepared for what was to come? Would they uncover the truth that lay on the other side? The white light consumed them, a dazzling fury twisting reality itself. Each heartbeat felt surreal, like the calm in the eye of a storm. Was this true freedom, or just another trap? As the brilliance dimmed, they were thrust into a new scene, now a sprawling urban landscape with shattered glass and crumbling walls. Carla stumbled forward, disoriented but alive. The others followed, breathing heavily. "Where are we?" Marcus gasped, scanning the chaos around them. The sky above was a tempestuous purple, swirling with gloomy clouds that seemed to breathe malice. "I don't know," Carla replied, her gut twisted in knots. The air was thick, heavy, a suffocating reminder of their previous encounter with the entity's darkness. "Something tells me we've got to keep moving." A sudden clang echoed in the distance, startling them. The group flinched as a jagged figure emerged from the darkness, its form humanoid but distorted, its features dripping with the misery of countless souls. It was a man, but the eyes burned with anguish, the mouth twisted into an eternal scream. What is that?" the intern whispered, his voice barely a tremor. "Just a manifestation, part of the entity," Carla replied, though doubt clouded her voice. The figure advanced, the air crackling with a terrible energy. Each step it took caused the ground to pulse, and Carla felt a wave of dread wash over her. "Can it hear us?" Marcus strained, taking a step backward. "What does it want?" "Us," Carla stated, the truth sharp as glass. "It wants to feed on our fear, our sorrow. We can't let it." "What are we supposed to do?" the intern cried, his panic rising to a boil. "We were barely holding on to our hope before, and now look at this." "Hold on to each other," Carla shouted, a plan forming in her mind. "We can't fight it alone. We have to combine our strength." The grotesque figure stopped, its head cocking to the side as if pondering their words. The shadows deepened around it, revealing whispers of long-lost memories that clawed at them. "What do you have that I don't?" it hissed, twisted laughter spilling from its lips. "Your strength stems from a past riddled with regret. I am your true self, unfiltered, untamed." With a jolt, realization swept through Carla. "It's right in a way. We can't deny our past, but it doesn't own us." She felt a spark ignite within her, a flicker of resilience. "Each of us has suffered, but we also stood tall against it." They locked hands, a circle of defiance amid the chaos. "We are more than our fears," she shouted, and the others echoed her words, voices trembling but resolute. The monstrous being froze, its laughter eerily silenced. It appeared to dim, flickers of flickering light beginning to break apart its dark shape. "Can you truly stand against the void?" the creature sneered, but doubt seeped into its voice. "You think those bonds are everything?" Marcus roared, cutting it off. "Family, friendship, memories, all those moments that brought us joy matter more than your despair." The entity writhed, shadows twisting into grotesque faces, primal screams echoing in chorus. "You're nothing." Carla clenched her jaw. "That's where you're wrong." We choose to remember the good. Our happiness gives us strength. With determination intensifying, light surged from their joined hands, bright and powerful, overwhelming the shadows until they pulsed and cracked like glass. The figure screeched, a sound that mingled rage with fear, as the light encased it. "Don't let go!" The intern shouted. As the darkness clawed desperately to snuff out their brilliance, the group fought back. The blinding light swirled upward, drawing their strength to one focal point, the creature's form dissolving like mist under the sun, and then, with a deafening roar, the shadows exploded into a void, a gaping maw sucking in everything around them. In that consuming silence, the world vanished. They were left hanging in nothingness, weightless, drifting. What had they unleashed? Beyond the silence lurked a new challenge, and the uncertainty gnawed at Carla's insides. Could they endure whatever came next? Or would this be the end of everything they'd fought for? The silence was deafening, a vacuum that thrummed with tension. Weightless, Clara felt her heart race, each beat echoing through the emptiness. The last remnants of the creature's darkness whispered her name, chilling her to the bone. Around her, Marcus and the intern gazed wide-eyed, their expressions mirroring her own inner turmoil. "What just happened?" Marcus's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Clara searched for words, but the uncertainty held her captive. After their earlier defiance, they had fought. Had it all been for nothing? The thought sent a wave of nausea through her. I think we freed something," she managed to say, the weight of her realization heavy. "What do you mean? What did we unleash?" The intern gulped, his fear palpable. "I'm not sure," she replied, her voice breaking. "But this silence, it feels wrong." A flicker of light emerged in the distance, like a distant star grasping to illuminate the void. They leaned toward it, instinctively reaching out, but as they moved closer, the light flickered and vanished. The emptiness swallowed their hope in an instant. Suddenly, a faint rumble resonated beneath them. It was a vibration that thrummed like the heart of a beast awakening. Carla's breath hitched. "We need to go." Before they could react, the void erupted. Wave upon wave of darkness surged toward them, uncertain shapes clawing at the edges. Screams echoed from some unseen depth, the desperate sound erupting all around. Panic twisted Carla's stomach as she pulled the others closer. "We can't let it, whatever it is, take us," she shouted, trying to drown out the chaos. Together, they fought against the onslaught of shadows, using their bond to push against the overwhelming force. Each scream stung her ears, familiar yet foreign, trapping them in a nightmare. There, in the dark, horrible faces emerged, ghosts of their fears come to life. Memories of failure, loss, and heartbreak shoved into their minds, drowning them in a wave of despair. Clara staggered back, feeling her strength drain. "Don't listen to them," she yelled, her voice barely cutting through the cacophony. "They want us to break. The memories, they're in our heads. We fought them once." Marcus shouted back, desperation steel in his voice, but she could see the cracks beginning to show in his resolve. The intern's hands trembled as he held on tight. "But what if we can't do it again?" Clara felt an electric jolt surge through her at his words. Doubt hung like a heavy curtain. They couldn't afford to falter. "Remember the light. We created it together," she called out, a flicker of defiance igniting within her once again. Suddenly, the void trembled. A mischievous voice whispered from the darkness, taunting them. "You believe you're heroes, but know this: your strength is as fragile as your hope. Shut up." Marcus screamed, his eyes fierce. The echoes of the past clawed at them, lifting the weight of their burdens for everyone to see. "We're not weak. We've survived so much, our failures don't define us." As he shouted, a radiant warmth began to bloom from deep within them. It mixed with the chaos around them, drawing energy from memories not of sorrow, but joy and triumph. The corners of the abyss flickered as colors flashed, hints of hope breaking through. "It's working!" Clara uttered with renewed fervor. But just then, the darkness roared back, angered and hungry. The shadows coalesced into a monstrous figure that mirrored their collective grief, its eyes glowing with sinister intent. "You think you can oppose me?" it hissed, lurching closer, each movement causing their brilliant light to shudder and flicker. Could their combined memories really hold the key? They needed more. Was victory truly within their grasp, or would they be consumed yet again? As the entity lunged, a desperation surged within them. They had to face the darkness one last time, but would it be enough? The vibrancy of their memories sparked as they summoned all the courage they had. What was lost awaited on the other side if only they could reach it. What would they find when they collided with that darkness, one last time? The shadows swirled angrily around them, a tempest of despair and forgotten fears. Clara stood tall, heart racing, as the entity loomed before them, a grotesque manifestation of every failure, every regret they carried. It hissed ominously, anger rippling through the dark as it closed in on the group. You think you can defeat your own darkness? You'll never escape. No! Marcus shouted, stepping forward. It's time for us to own our truths. We're more than our fears. His voice rang with fierce confidence. The shadows whipped around him, desperate to snuff out that spark. You don't even know the price of defiance, it growled. Then show us. Clara yelled back, locking eyes with the whirling darkness. We're not afraid to confront what we've buried. Together, we can do this. The collective energy surged. The painful memories melted away, replaced with flashes of light, the laughter of friends, warmth of love, the comfort of hope. The shadows recoiled, twisting like smoke, struggling against the encroaching warmth. Keep fighting! The intern cried, his hands shaking but his voice resolute. Remember that we are stronger together. As they held hands, the light radiated brighter, weaving into multicolored streams around them, illuminating the darkness that had once gripped their hearts. Memories flowed like a river, no longer burdens but sources of strength. Each laugh echoed like a beating drum, each victory a buoy in their tempest. Feel the light, Clara called, her voice rising with every pulse. Let it wash away the fear. The dark figure staggered back, its form trembling under the onslaught of their hope. You'll regret this, it snarled, but Clara could see the hesitance creeping in. There's nothing to regret, Marcus declared, stepping boldly toward the menace. We will define our own path. Suddenly, the entity shrieked a sound that resonated with agony. You'll drown in your own shadows. It howled, but the words faltered as the light expanded, overtaking their fears, displacing them. Clara felt clarity wash over her. It was working. Push harder. We won't let you control us, she screamed, drawing from the collective strength rising within them. They transformed pain into power, sorrow into hard-fought resilience. The shadows began to crack, light pouring through the seams, growing more intense, battling back against the dark. What is this? The entity screeched as warmth enveloped it. I will not fade. Not with us standing together. The intern shouted, squeezing the hands of his friends, bolstered by their energy. And just like that, a fissure opened where they stood, engulfing the darkness in a flood of brilliant light that burst forth from their souls. The entity wailed, a sound of defeat echoing into nothingness as their warmth surged higher, consuming the last remnants of its power. In an explosion of color and sound, the darkness was crushed beneath the brilliance of their unity, dispelling every whisper that sought to drag them back. Don't stop. Keep going, Clara shouted, pushing against the oppressive atmosphere. And as if an unseen hand swept across the void, the ground shifted beneath them, the shadows retreating into nothingness, leaving only a vast emptiness behind. But as they steadied themselves, new hope blossomed before them, a shimmering portal of light ignited in the air ahead. It's time to leave this place behind, Clara announced, her voice radiating strength. What if we're not ready? The intern whispered, fear still lingering. We've survived the dark. We can overcome anything, Marcus said fiercely, their bond more robust than the remnants of shadow lingering behind them. He grabbed Carla's hand, pulling her along, and the intern grasped the other tightly. Together, with minds focused on the joy and love they shared, they stepped through the portal, hearts intertwined, leaving the darkness behind. As they emerged, Clara gasped. They stood in the sunlight, the fresh, brisk air filling their lungs. The imposing office building where they had faced their demons loomed before them, only now it felt less like a cage and more like a reminder of their triumph. They took a moment to breathe, gazing into each other's eyes. "We made it," Carla whispered, tears of relief spilling down her cheeks. With newfound warmth in their hearts and a deeper understanding of their strength, they shared a collective smile, knowing they had faced their fears and emerged victorious. But more importantly, they recognized what bound them: a commitment to support each other, to embrace every shade of life, and together they would face whatever came next. From that day forward, every flicker of darkness would only be met with the unwavering light of their newfound strength. So, what now awaits each of them? Only time would tell, but they were ready. They had chosen hope and they would never look back. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.